we've served together, we've spilled blood together, sweat together, and it's just one of those things that we've connected. I didn't learn how to express my feelings in some of it.
Yeah.
I didn't learn that aspect of it. There was a lot of brushing underneath the rug. If you ask for help, you see if you feel weak. That shows weakness if you're asking for help. No, it's not. That's showing strength of, hey, I've identified something I need work on, and I need help with that.
I'm just picturing this. Career military, Army, major, like, that's what you know.
Yes.
And like at the very end of it, you're trying to figure out how to what you're going to, do afterwards. You're trying to be a single father. Like, man, that's a lot of that's a lot on your plate that you did not expect. I hate when people say time heals. I'm like, time does something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it healing.
Yes.
That takes intention. All right. Ready to do this?
Let's get going.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. What we do on this podcast is bring guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, to share their journey and everything along the way that led them to where they're at today. This podcast is a reminder of what's real, unfiltered stories, raw emotion, and the kind of human connection that can't be faked. We're here to make an impact, and that is what we do. So if that is for you, like, subscribe, and all those wonderful things. And if that is not for you, I don't know what your problem is, but it's time to jump on board today. Thank you. But without further ado, I would love to introduce today's guest, Mr. Matt Childers.
Thank you.
Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. So a couple weeks ago, you've probably seen it because those episodes blew up. Our guest, Tiffany Childers. This is her husband.
And I am.
Hence the last name. And, we met, I think, we met at Lowe's or Home Depot Garden Center. Yeah. And Tiffany's amazing.
She is.
Amazing story. Super supportive. Just
Very
a really
supportive.
Good person. I mean, you got lucky, man.
I did.
She's a great woman. So
she is a wonderful woman.
Very happy for you, and I appreciate her level of vulnerability. I mean, it those things carry with me when people share that stuff with me on this platform for the first time. And so, but that says a lot about the relationship between you guys. And she talked you up.
She does.
So you gotta live up to it today.
I will do my best to.
You gotta go all
I got
out.
big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, man. But no, it's an honor to have you here, and I'm excited to dive into your story.
I'm excited to be here.
Hell yeah, man. Let's start with this. What does life look like for you today? And then we're going to take it back.
Today, I mean, it's been going through changes the past couple years. So great changes. Change is something that's inevitable. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't deal with change very well. From time in the military, change is one of those things that you have to get used to because it happens. Every couple of years there's a change. And it's been, a journey kind of go on, starting a new career over the last 4.5, 5 years. Tiffany and I meeting each other, getting married this past year. So that's our journey that's just now getting started. And, it's just looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And that, getting to know more about each other, getting to grow as a couple together. And both of us starting careers, her starting her new job. That's her passion. Me just getting started in this career. And it's one of those things that, I'm excited about, looking forward to it. It's one of those things we still, things that are going through, melding two families together, two houses, kids on both sides, trying to fit that together, and in its own little challenges in itself. But it's something I'm excited about. I mean, both of us, because we are very supportive of what we do.
Yeah.
Tiffany's, her mission, what she's doing now is awesome. I mean, she her story from the last episode is she's passionate about helping veterans.
Oh yeah, she gets fired up about that.
She does. And she brought me in. She's like, I found my veteran. I found him, and he just jumps in. And I enjoy that. I love that aspect of it. Since we've been together, it's one of those things. She's brought me in and said, hey, you've lived this life. Come in and help me.
Yeah.
And I've loved that. And I've loved what she's done and things she's brought me on and made me a part of, and then just kind of being a part of her group of people that she's met since she's been down here, and then she's brought me another room because, I've been here for a good while, but majority of my close friends are not here.
Yeah.
You know, guys that I served with, you know, it's just like once you serve together, you're there for a few years, and then sometimes you move out.
Peace.
Sometimes they come back.
Yeah.
You know, but it's one of those, once you're out, I still have some close friends that are around Fort Campbell, but my really close friends from college, you know, from time in the military, have moved on, and they're not here. So, you know, as she says, my tribe, you know, around here, it's just trying to get connected to people that's outside that and growing that team together. So, I'm really looking forward to what next few years, 10 years, 20, 30, whatever God gives me, you know, looks like.
You know, it's, I appreciate that. And it's something that I definitely connect with, especially talking about that brotherhood. And, you know, because most of my close brothers are at a distance. I mean, we got them in Mississippi, Florida, Louisiana, Texas, you know, Colorado. And I see them a handful, you know, 3 or 4 times a year, right? And but I always think about this in the Hallmark says, I'm going to butcher it, but it basically says, you know, in simpler terms, it can be pretty much a daunting task to get for a short trip to a bad friend, but then it's the complete opposite for a long trip to a good friend.
Yeah.
So basically, like, going to lengths to see your closest friends, your brothers, are way more worth it than just like driving up the road to, you know, be with somebody that you know you're kind of on the fence about. Does that make sense?
Totally does.
So that's why you got to be intentional about your relationships, even in a close community. You just don't want to be friends with people just because.
I totally agree with you. I mean, you know, Tiffany even talked about it. You know, I just had my 25th West Point reunion, and getting connected with people that I haven't seen. You know, there's a tight group of us that all got a house together and haven't seen. Some of them seen, you know, I stay really connected with one good friend of mine that I play football with. He's from Houston. Him and I connect. Tiffany's connected with his wife, and, you know, that's my closest friend when it comes to military, you know, going to school and playing football together.
Yeah.
And we met up with him. Anytime we go down to Houston, we meet up with them, or we do our best to.
Yeah.
You know, they have, you know, challenges in themselves with, you know, their family, but anytime we're down there, we try to link up with them, because, you know, that person I've gone through, you know, the last 25, 30 years together. And we met each other right out of high school, going up to the prep school at West Point, played football together. And then since then we've served together, you know, we've spilled blood together, you know, sweat together, you know, and it's just one of those things that we've connected. And that long journey, you know, going up to West Point with her is just getting to connect with guys that are like, you know, closest of friends. And then I went back for my 30th high school reunion, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, I connect a little bit better with, you know, the friends that have gone through the same journey for the last 25 years that I have.
Yeah.
And those kind of like different friends that are, you know, you grew up with them, but they weren't followed the same path. They haven't gone through and lived the same things that you've gone through.
Yeah.
And, you know, I connect a little bit more with that, with those, you know, besides, you know, family.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you know, those people I've talked about, I mean, most of them I met within the past, less than a decade. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy how, like, you know, because I can't really think of, I got like one friend from high school that I stay in good touch with, you know, but you just kind of fall out of alignment with other people, and that's okay too. You know, they're chapters. So and before I take it back to, you know, the early days, you were in the military. What did you do in the military?
I was a field artillery officer.
Okay, sweet. You were at West Point too, so you're a smart guy.
Yes.
Smart guy.
I was an athlete at West Point, so, you know, I was like smart athlete.
You got kind of a pass. It's so, Matt, before we dive into your military career and everything since, let's take it back, man. Let's you know, just get a little glimpse of your childhood. Where do you hail from? You know, take us back to the young days of Matt. You know, some influences there in your life that kind of led you to, you know, West Point and the military and so on. And we'll go from there.
Well, I'm originally from a small town right outside of Houston, about 25 minutes, right along the bay, Galveston Bay, LaPorte, Texas. All my family, I come from a pretty big family. My dad's side of the family, he was one of 7 kids. My sister and I are 2 of 14 grandkids. My kids are 2 of 32 great grandkids. Still have my grandma still alive.
Dang.
It's a big tight knit family. I grew up.
Yeah.
We did stuff, Sunday dinners at, my grandma's house.
I hate to interrupt. My family, we actually lived in, my childhood, we lived in Woodlands.
Okay.
For a couple years. Yeah. And then we moved back to Georgia. But
so I know right where it is.
Yeah.
My sister was a high school coach at Kingwood.
Okay, cool.
Which is right close to the Woodlands right
Sweet.
there. So, I grew up in a family that was, pretty much big on sports. I mean, I grew up, in sports from, 8 years old. I played football, and I say that I played football for about 14 and a half years straight.
Yeah.
And starting in Little League, played baseball, basketball, soccer, all of it, which was a big influence, on growing up. My sister was a big athlete. She had a full ride basketball scholarship. She went to a junior college and then on to Texas Women's University, and she's a basketball coach now.
Nice.
So it's, that had a big calling. And my parents were, hey, I want you to try everything. I want you to be active. I want you to, and then find what you really like to do.
Yeah.
And it was about, junior high that was like, I learned, I was like, okay, these other sports, I'm not very good in it. Okay. I'm going to move to what I, love. And
stuck with football.
And once I got to high school, it was, football. Of course,
yeah.
You just do track in the off season.
I took you as like a tennis guy.
Of course.
I'm just kidding.
235-pound tennis ballerina jumping around.
They'd be like, damn, this guy's a freak of nature.
But it's, that was that kind of put me down on the path. I really loved sports, and it really shaped, kind of who I was and starting out. And then I grew up in a family that was we had horses and everything. So that life of animals and stuff was something I did. So on my other end, I did FFA. I was in that. My sister was in it, and that set me down on like leadership path of it. And I really enjoyed doing that. So that kind of melded together. And I was active in that. I was, as Tiffany says, she said my chicken belt buckle she talked about in her story that she wore when we went down to Texas. And I think to West Point too, because my buddy, he always teased me about my chicken belt buckle, which was reserve champion chickens that I grew. That I raised. So I got that my senior year. So she wears that. I don't wear it anymore.
I don't know. Maybe she should have put it on today.
She rocked it and wore it all around and had it. But it was... And then that's kind of the bringing, I grew up, my mom's family was from Arkansas, had a 2,500 acre cotton farm that they grew up right there on the border of Arkansas and Louisiana. My dad's originally from Kentucky in the hills. He left, really young. So that part of, hills, he grew up in a hard life. I mean, he had 7 kids living in a 3-bedroom house.
Dang.
And then when they, dirt floors and stuff growing up and hard life in Kentucky, and then moved to Texas and, it was good after that. I mean, his brothers and sisters all did real well. So, growing up there, my parents, instilled a lot of hard work ethic, into me. I mean, my dad worked for almost 50 years on the Houston Ship Channel. Yeah. Working in paper mills, factories, and
just busting his tail.
He did. Yeah. I mean, he worked only at really one paper mill for 28 years and then, a power plant for a little over 20 years after that.
Dang.
So, I mean, that work ethic still to me. I mean, he was one of those ones that worked his butt off. Always would come home and his food was in the microwave. Didn't care to heat it up, just pulled it out and ate it.
Yeah.
Was one of those people, soft spoken, didn't speak, but if he spoke, you listen.
Yeah.
Because then that's when he did, you're like, okay, he's actually giving me some words of wisdom I need to pay attention to.
This is serious. Yeah.
And he was a mechanic, always had cars, motorcycles, stuff that he always worked on, that's at the house. And he's still at 71. He still works on cars, motorcycles, lawnmowers, just something to get him out of the house every single day. And
super cool.
Gets in his shop and works. So
you got to appreciate that, man. You just had a good old Southern upbringing.
I did. Yes.
Like there's no other way to put it.
Pretty much. Exactly.
Yeah. You come from a good family, a hardworking family, an involved family. I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Super traditional, and I appreciate that.
It was. I mean, they started out young. I mean, my mom had my sister at 17, 18. They, both graduated high school, and then soon after that bought their own house. Bought it from his grandparents and lived in it for a while, and then sold it to his younger brother. So, and they've hard working since then. Have been together for 51, 52 years.
Damn.
So
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. ups and downs,
Of course.
and I mean, we'll talk some more about it, but it's, they supported me when what I did. They were hardworking, throughout high school. It was like, hey, we want you to concentrate on school. During school, it was like, yes, they didn't ever make me work, but I worked around the house, did everything I could, but they were like, hey, as long as you were concentrating in school, you're doing well in school. That's what we want you to focus on.
Yeah.
During the summers I worked, we worked either baling hay or working for somebody that had laying around there a business constantly, or working on tractors, mowing big fields, all summer long. So,
yeah,
but, they supported me in, my passion. And then, we talk about influence. My mom's her brother, he was in the Army. He went to Texas A&M.
Okay.
He did 28 years as an engineer in the Army. And I used to visit them during the summer. And that was kind of like, I think, my influence. I mean, I started on the path getting recruited for Air Force Academy. And then he kind of said, hey, you need to think about West Point. Because he's, Army, he wanted to have that influence.
Yeah, of course.
He went to A&M. He's like, man, I didn't have the chance to go to West Point, but you have, you have it. You've got really good grades. You could get recruited. You're getting recruited by Air Force. So go look at Army. And I took a visit up there and went up there, and a good friend of theirs, which was his commanding officer at one time, was the dean. Yeah, he was the dean at that time. So took a visit up there. At that time I was getting recruited back in the old days where you had to make your own tape, back in the,
Yeah.
as Tiffany says, I was born in the late 1900s. You had to make your own tape. You didn't have the stuff now where everybody's on Facebook and highlights and everything. So
Yeah.
made your own highlight reel and went up there and gave it to the coaches. And then after that started getting recruited.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Went to the prep school after that. Really enjoyed and spent a year in New Jersey.
So you didn't even give Academy a chance, Air Force Academy a chance. You're pretty sold on West Point.
It was. I mean, I still did interviews with them, and we had 2 years prior to me in high school. I think he was, when I was my sophomore, he was a senior.
Okay.
He got recruited by Air Force and went to the Air Force Academy prep school. The style of football that we played, offense, was exactly what the academies played at that time. Wishbone.
Yeah.
Option offense. So they were like, hey, y'all play the exact same thing. So it's an easy transition from there to the style of play that the academies do. So
of course.
I was still getting, a little bit recruited by them, but then when I put all my focus on, West Point, that's kind of really what I liked, and kind of my uncle pushing me down that path and really saying, hey, this is be good for you. And at the whole time, I never thought I would, do 20 plus years in the military. And I was like, man, West Point, man, that's a great education. It's free.
Oh yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
And I only got to pay, 5 years afterwards.
What a great opportunity.
Oh, and that's how I viewed it. A bunch of my friends was like, hey, this is Ivy League education, pay 5 years, don't know anything, get that great education, serve for a couple of years, get that experience. And then, afterwards, move on. But, I really enjoyed what I was doing. I always told myself in the Army, if it was what a passion I enjoyed, as long as it was, having a good time, then I continued on that path.
Hell yeah, man. So I love it. So you got a solid background.
Yes.
Yeah. It sounds like a pretty good life. I mean, it's a blessing too. You know what I'm saying? And it led you to, service. Now with West Point, what was that experience like? If you want to dive into that a little bit.
It's, what helped me, my experience was a little different than some people, because I played football for 2 years while I was at West Point. So my junior and senior year, I didn't play anymore. But it's, I went to the prep school for a year, which helped me kind of get a little bit under my, my feet up underneath me in that experience of military life. Cause I didn't grow up in military, and both my parents were in the military. My uncle was, but my,
obviously you had that discipline upbringing though. So that helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that discipline upbringing. I was a really good kid in school, but I still also had, my party side where I like to have a good fun.
Covering that up. Yeah.
So I was disciplined to the point where it's like, my parents said, hey, okay, you went out and you had a good time. Guess what? It's Sunday. Get your butt up, get out there and mow the yard. Yeah. I don't care if you're hungover a little bit. Get up, get out there.
Yep.
So, but, my experience there, I really enjoyed, that aspect of it. Cause it, like you said, the discipline background I grew up from, it kind of led right into that. And, first couple of years struggle a little bit in class, because it was hard. I did really well in high school, but it's a little different.
A little different college, yeah.
But some aspects were a little bit easier for me when it came to science and math. But the the English side, wasn't as easy for me. But
see, I'm the opposite. I'm more of like, I'm an English guy, like a reader and writer and all those different things, history, get some science and math in my face. I'm like, my brain's just doing all kinds of stuff I don't even know.
Right. I love the science, the chemistry, the physics, all that stuff, was really that.
Yeah.
I followed that.
I think it's cool as hell. It's one of those things. It's interesting how like some people just, I don't know, we just get certain things so much better.
It's the way your brain works.
Yeah. Cool.
I can look at a math problem or a science and I can analyze it to now. I helped Max, what was it? A couple of days ago, go through math problems.
Yeah.
And, and help him study, get ready for a test.
Yeah.
And that stuff is like, oh yeah, pick it right back up.
For sure.
It's the way my brain works. When it comes to the other side, that's where I had to put a lot of my effort into.
You're like, what are these book words here? It's funny because my dad was a English major at Citadel, right? And so he was always a big reader and writer and, a music guy. And so it's interesting looking now, like, man, I've got a lot of influence from my dad. I didn't even realize, so I'd say from your dad's mechanical background, I mean, there's, this math type stuff in a way, right? I don't know. I feel like it applies. It kind of transfers. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just throwing off.
No, it is. I mean, the way you look at a problem, the technical, to diagnose, look at something, break it down and go, okay, what's the problem?
Yeah.
That's where that's that side of your mind that you can look at it and go, I can see a problem. I can dissect it, analyze it, come up with a solution.
Exactly.
The Philly, the touchy-feely side is like, I can't, you want me analyzing in this theory or whatever in philosophy. Oh,
Get this stuff away from me. Yeah. That's funny as hell.
And it helps when it comes to certain leaders, in the military, you're given a problem set. All right, I have this mission.
Yeah.
Go through this set process, the military decision-making process, go through it. It's set, locked down, analyze it, dissect the problem, come up with a solution.
Of course.
Present it. Okay, go down the route. You want to. It's a lot of military guys are that way.
Yeah, for sure.
It works for them.
100%, man. So struggled in college, first couple of years with a little bit of a pain. You adjusted, obviously. Obviously, what forced you to take a step back from playing football?
I mean, my freshman year, we did really well. We went to the Independence Bowl. I think we did, what was our record, 10-2 that year. A lot of our coaches kind of went away, and I still stayed connected with it afterwards. We had a strength team that that was up there. That a few people were on it. A lot of guys that were football players that didn't that played.
Yeah,
but
keep going.
I transitioned to that. It wasn't. I always told myself, I said, hey, as soon as football is not fun anymore, move out. And I wasn't the I never started. I wasn't the biggest guy. When you talk about offensive lineman, that's a center. I only got up to about 260 pounds. That's a small guy when it comes to college playing that. So
yeah,
I never did start it. I didn't start my freshman year, of course. Scout team. My sophomore year, I dressed, but I never started any games, or anything. So, and I knew it. It's kind of get to the point where you're like, you didn't grow to be the biggest guy, but make another path, and I was good with that. It was, I had really good friends that still stayed connected with it, and I wanted to stay connected with the team, so I went strength team, and it gives some deals at West Point. If you're in a NCAA sport, you kind of sit on tables, and of course, being there. I got there when we did cadet basic training. First 3.5 weeks or so, you're not on tables, and you're having to go through the where you have to eat and everything's got to be on the corner of the plate, your fork and your knife, and you got to set it down and then chew and then do it again. Well, I lost 20 pounds, 3 weeks.
Guys, I'm playing football. Can y'all cut me some slack? I'm not the biggest guy as it is on the line. I need to maintain this.
And we're going through training, every day, running, you're doing all this other stuff. And it's like, hey, I need food. And it's, once you get on tables, we were eating 4,500 calories a day just to maintain weight, because you had at West Point go through the normal curriculum. We didn't have any advantage. Oh, you're a football player, you don't have to take all these courses. No, you have to take the exact same courses that everybody else does. Then you go up to and play football.
They don't cut you any slack.
Oh, there was none.
Which is good.
It is. The only slack that we got was we didn't have the last hour block of instruction. we took our classes earlier in the day so that we could have that hour off to go to the football stadium and practice.
Yeah.
And they've changed it a little bit now. I mean, I know, some of the football players up there, they actually have to do summer school, so they have a lighter load during the year. Because, I mean, you're a cadet first, an Army football player second.
Yeah.
So you have to do everything else that the normal cadets do.
I appreciate that, though.
And it's I mean, people look at it and say, oh, hey, you're not like a normal athlete at a normal college that's like, hey, go do basket weaving.
You got $1 million deal in a Lambo?
Exactly. We can have somebody take care and do your test for you.
Yeah, right.
I mean, all of our classes were no bigger than like 18, majority of them, especially your first 2 years, there's no more than 18 people in the class. Because there's only 20 desks, and one of those desks is for a visitor that comes. So majority of the time, I mean, your instructor knows you by name, what company you're in, and if you didn't show up, there was an email sent to, hey, where was this person at today?
They're on your ass.
Oh yeah. It was you're expected to be at the right place, the right time, right uniform.
Keeping you at the standard, though.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's got to maintain that standard. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of, discipline. You gotta, I talk about, you gotta learn how to follow before you can lead.
100%.
You gotta be able to, understand what you're going through, be disciplined, and set the example, when you do become a leader, so that your soldiers can follow you.
How would you say that experience shaped your approach and your mindset towards life?
I would say, when, majority of the time career, I mean, I still kind of follow that discipline aspect of it. There's certain things, no, but, majority of the time, it kind of puts you on that path of like, hey, there's certain things I want to accomplish, and I'm going to take that discipline approach with it, setting goals and saying, hey, I need to accomplish these goals. And sometimes, we'll talk more when we get into it. Sometimes that's at detriment, that the, things you learn, to be disciplined at one thing and focus on that can hurt, other things, or allow you to not look at that when you're trying to focus totally on your mission or whatever you want, your goals. So,
yeah. Getting like zeroed in. Yeah. Get those blinders.
It is, and Tiffany calls me Mission Matt when I get into, sometimes I get in that when it's like, hey, I have a mission. That's something I want to do. And I want to complete that mission, and I'll focus on it.
Yeah.
And anything else coming from the side, it doesn't register.
Yeah. You got to like hold it in my face. Yeah. Oh, I feel you there, dude.
And she's learning. She told me even this morning, she goes, make sure you tell them my funny Mission Matt, song that I sing when you're getting into it. You
going to sing it for us?
No.
Come on, man.
But no, I mean, it's part of that aspect that you get into it, and a lot of people in the military is like, hey, I've got something to accomplish and I want to get it done because I feel successful when I complete it.
Oh yeah.
It's not less like you're just checking the box. It's like, no, I have something that I want to complete, and when I do it, I feel like I've completed something, whatever the simple task is. I feel like I've completed, I've been successful. Now I can move on,
I get that because it's so applicable to like life now for me. For example, people are like, time block, just this much on this task, this much on this task. And I'm like, okay, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. Like when you look at it on paper, but I'll like start a task and I just get so like in my zone that I've like gone like way past the time block, and then I get to the end of the day, I'm like, yes, I got this done. I'm like, shit, I did not start any of those other tasks though, and it would probably make my life a little bit easier, but I get it. It's one of those things, you just get focused. You just like, I got to knock this out. Because you feel like if you put it back, then you're like, well, then I got to catch back up on it tomorrow. Exactly. Yeah. So one of those things we'll learn how to maybe adjust. I don't know. It's working.
Yes.
Home isn't just where you sleep. It's where your story settles between the noise, where your family laughs, grows, and becomes who they're meant to be. But if your foundation is shaky or the walls around you don't feel like peace, everything else feels off. That's where Jan Adams with Benchmark Realty comes in. She doesn't just help people buy and sell houses, she helps them find home. She's located right here in Middle Tennessee, and this is what she does every single day. Walks people through one of the biggest decisions of their life with honesty, patience, and heart. Whether you're starting fresh, expanding your family, or chasing that next dream, she'll make sure the space you land in reflects who you are and what you're building. Because in the relentless pursuit, your environment should echo your purpose, your home should breathe your values. Jan Adams with Benchmark Realty. You can call her at 615-969-5577 or email her at jansalestnhomes@gmail.com. Find home, live grounded, and pursue relentlessly. From there, obviously going into the military as an officer, is there anything you want to touch on from childhood in West Point, though, before we move forward?
I mean, I think as we touch more, I mean, childhood, what helped me, I think, some childhood, I grew up with my parents, very disciplined, just where we were supportive of what, I did, always supportive. But we didn't talk about a lot of things and things that kind of, we'll get into later, I'm starting to learn now going forward that there wasn't the healthiest thing, of teaching, how to talk through things, communicate. My parents were not the best when it comes to communication of your feelings. They're very supportive, always supported whatever we do. We're there to show up and everything, but I didn't learn how to express my feelings in some of it.
Yeah.
I didn't learn that aspect of it. There was a lot of brushing underneath the rug, type act, and just move forward, just move on. And time will heal, with it. And I learned that through them, and it's something that I'm learning now today, and we'll get, more into it, of things that I'm learning today and adjusting and trying to change to better my relationship with, with people that are around me, with my kids, with Tiffany, to improve that. And she's, help me more than I could ever ask for of that, to realize those things and say, hey, that's not the best thing, you've alienated some people sometimes when you do that. Let's talk through things. And sometimes it'll set, boundaries, and realize that people aren't the healthiest people in your life.
100%. Yeah.
Because, the way they interact with you or you interact with them. And sometimes it's kind of, hey, you got to draw the line and say, hey, this is not going to happen anymore.
It's good that you're willing to see that, though, and I'm excited to dive into a lot of that too, because I will say, and I hate when people say time heals. I'm like, time does something.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it healing.
Yes.
That takes intention. We can't just throw a Band-Aid on it and expect that Band-Aid to hold things together for however many years. Eventually it's going to fall off. Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, and what I'm excited to dive into that. Before we get there, let's touch on your military career a little bit. Obviously after West Point, you went.
After West Point, of course, I went to officer basic course in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I did that for 6 months, and then my first duty station was Alaska.
Okay.
I loved it. Me and a group of guys, my longtime, best friend from West Point, we both went to Alaska. We all looked at each other, and there was 3 spots for field artillery. I was a little bit higher ranking in the class when it came to field artillery, and you got to pick your spot coming out of West Point.
Nice.
And you picked your branch, and it all kind of based on your class rank. And then when we did our post night, they stick you in a big, huge auditorium. And of course, most West Point football players, they go field artillery. It's just kind of like our branch.
Yeah.
But, we sat in a big auditorium, and they're like, okay, number 1 in the class for field artillery, where do you want to go? And they had all the posts up on the wall, and you just kind of course, Hawaii, Italy, those courses go out quick. But I wanted to go to Alaska. It was like, man, I want to adventure. I'm going to be in the Army for a while, however long it is. I want to see the world.
Yeah. I
want to see things. So I chose Alaska and did that. Went to airborne school, and then got in Anchorage, where we had a single artillery battery that was part of the 172nd Brigade, but we were the airborne part with 501st.
Okay.
So we're down in Anchorage, was a small little base back then, Fort Richardson, that was attached to Elmendorf Air Force Base. Yep. So we were attached, we jumped, did stuff with them, was there for about 3 years almost, and then went back to Fort Sill for Captain's Career Course and then went to Fort Hood after that.
Nice.
And then I had my first deployment. I left Alaska about the day I was clearing was the day they got orders to go to Afghanistan in 2003. And my battery commander at that time, he was like, man, go to career course, don't stay. Because I want to stay. It's like, hey, if I'm going to deploy, I want to deploy with a unit that I've been training with for the past, 2.5 years. And he's like, nope. He's like, man, I've got 4 lieutenants that are about to get promoted to captain, and I have no space for you. He's like, I'm only authorized 2 captains. That's me and the FA or the battalion fire support officer.
Dang.
So he's like, go to career course, move on. So I did. Went to Fort Hood and knew I was going to deploy to Iraq right after that, and did shortly after getting there. Within a year, I'd say about 15 months, deployed to Iraq as a battery commander, and did that time in Iraq. I was fortunate. We were providing long-range artillery fires for Iraq in 2005 to 2006. And it was right before the surge. And we had a unit that was coming in replacing us, so we didn't get caught up in the surge and having to stay for 18 months. We actually just did our 1 year and then left because they were like, hey, we already have a unit that's coming in replacing, doing exactly what you are doing. So, y'all go home. And I was fortunate I didn't lose any soldiers during that.
Very fortunate, yeah.
Yeah. We were 6 months in northern Iraq and 6 months in Baghdad. And the last 6 months was doing patrols. Pretty much took us off our mission and said, okay, you're gonna provide security and patrols around Baghdad. So we did that around Liberty base complex, and was fortunate didn't lose any soldiers or anything during that time frame.
Yeah.
Got back at that time. I was like, hey, I'm at the 5-6 years, and I said, if I'm going to continue doing this Army thing, I want to, go back to West Point and work up there and get my master's degree. So I applied for a job to be an admissions officer back at West Point.
How would you say that deployment experience, like I said, very fortunate for that, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people I talk to, they've all got stories of loss.
Right.
And so that's a huge blessing on your end. But would you say overall it was a powerful experience? And, do you think, how could you say that getting deployed, especially at that time, maybe shape things moving forward?
I think shaping things for me, it really kind of honed in what I enjoyed doing in the military. Because, while you're deployed, you're solely focused on your mission.
Yeah.
You're there. Soldiers are no distractions. You have family stuff that you're trying to still connect. This is 2005 before, Facebook, FaceTime, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was, communication was difficult during that time frame. If you wanted to see somebody, you had to take a video and send it and then get a video from them. It wasn't,
the ancient
it wasn't
times,
talking.
dude.
Exactly.
You had to send a crow to fly across the seas.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's nuts.
So I think really brought me into what I was doing and the enjoyment aspect of it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed, our mission. I enjoyed spending time with soldiers, and that's what kept me. Was like, I enjoy leading soldiers, and that was the draw to it. Because you were every single day, man, you were sleeping right next to them. You worked 18 hours together, and you really learned every single soldier that was in my battery. You really learn about who they are.
You get close.
You do.
Yeah.
And you get to see them kind of develop into either a leader or a better soldier, a better version of themselves while they're there.
Yeah. When you're a home station, there's a lot of distractions and a lot of different people around, but in those moments you get, it's just I don't know how to put it. Maybe like going on a big camping trip. Like it's a lot more intimate, right? So you actually get to build relationships with people otherwise, like at home base, you don't really get the opportunity to do that with.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. When you're on a patrol for 3-4 hours, with guys that, and I'd go out with them, and I wasn't necessarily the patrol leader. I had my NCOs but I went out with them and did patrols just to make sure that, hey, they're leaders out here going through the exact same things that they're doing. I'm not just sending you on something that I'm not willing to do the exact same thing.
Oh yeah.
And come back from patrol and you're sweat down to your knees because it's 120 degrees and you're wearing full kit.
Yeah.
And you're walking.
Brutal.
And it's you come back and literally it's like, all right, get a new uniform because this one's completely soaked. So I was fortunate. I had a little battery hooch, or that was my CP, that I had an AC unit, and I just sit in front of that for a good 10 minutes. Man, I'm cooling off because it's brutally hot.
That's something you look forward to every day.
Oh yeah.
I love it, man. So moving forward, so you went to West Point and got your master's. And what was the purpose of that?
I applied to go back. I was either going to be what's called a tactical officer, which every company at the military academy have a tactical officer that helps, direct, advise the cadets that are actually doing the leading. But they're there to help advise them and kind of instruct the disciplinary aspect of it too.
Yeah.
So I applied for that, and then I saw a position open with admissions. In admissions, they handle all the applicants that come to the military academy. And I applied for that, got that, and they're like, hey, go get your master's degree, get it in whatever you want to. You have 2 years to go do it. So came back to Fort Hood where I was at. I applied for a couple of schools, got into Baylor, and went and got my MBA, from Baylor. So it was a good time. Didn't have to wear a uniform for 2 years.
So you're active and you do it.
I was active.
Crazy. I didn't know that was like an option.
It was a good time of immediately coming back from a deployment, and 6 months later, I'm in grad school.
Yeah, getting to go be like a civilian for
pretty much
for a couple of years.
I drove up to Waco each day, which was like 60 miles each way.
You looked at your razor. You were just like, don't need you.
I had to, exactly, it was. I had to check in with the ROTC instructor, which at the time it was just an Air Force the first year. And I would literally check in on the first of this month, and I would check on the last of the next month. So it'd give me 2 months of facial hair growth, and then I'd shave it and report in, hey, I'm alive, I'm good. Nice. I still look like should be as an officer.
Good to go. That's awesome.
And I went to school. And we had there was another guy that was going to school with me too at that time. So he was in the MBA program. And then we had a couple more afterwards. I helped them. So part of my deal was they paid for about 75% of my tuition, the Baylor did, and the Army paid for the rest of it.
Cool.
And then I worked in their admissions office or their recruiting office to help them recruit more active duty. Because at that time, this is 2007, the Army was losing captains at a very high rate because of Iraq, multiple deployments, not be able to do stuff. So they're like, hey, I did my commitment, I'm out. So the Army was like, hey, we need to do something to retain, people in. So we're going to either give a bonus or we'll let you go and get a master's degree, and we'll pay for that 18 months. So they were trying to get more officers to come through the program. So I did that as like, hey, let's redesign how the search engine. So when they say military MBA program, Baylor pops up first.
Sweet.
For them to come through because you're close to Fort Hood. You want to draw in as many people that can come through it. So that helped out. Did 2 years, and then after I graduated, I went back to West Point, and I worked in admissions for 3 years at West Point, basically helping high school kids. I ended up doing what's called the recruited athlete. So every recruited athlete that applied for the academy that coaches recruited, I handled their files.
Cool.
So it was kind of got to meet with all the coaches. I love that aspect of it because I'd go meet with the basketball coach. And I have a really good story when I first got up there, and this is May of 2009. And we're doing like about a month of right seat right. And I got up there a little bit earlier than all the other guys that were coming through with me. And Coach K was up there. He's a former West Point.
Yeah.
What
was he at, like Duke?
He was Duke. He was still head coach at Duke at the time. But he would come up to the academy because he was, he coached at West Point. He was, a player at West Point. And he would always help out with recruiting for the men's basketball program. So he was up there. And we just got a new men's basketball coach, and he was signing his books. So, of course, me and one of the other majors, we were like, hey, no, let's go down there and let's get books signed by Coach K. And I want to do this too because my sister was a basketball coach. And I was like, man, I'm going to go get his books. I'm going to have him sign it and give it to my sister.
Yeah, sweet.
Because she had went to Pat Summitt, at Dill, because Pat Summitt was like a female basketball coach. Most winningest female basketball coach, NCAA,
of course,
history. Still in the top for all time. So I was like, hey, here's Coach K. I'll get, that sign. And I'm in line, and he's up there and he's signing it. And he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm the incoming recruited athlete admissions officer. And he goes, what? I said, oh, stop. He's like, Coach, come over here. He's like, you need to come and meet this guy. I was like, you and him need to be together. So it's like this moment of Coach K, who's this, huge figure that, and he's like pulling you aside in a little huddle and go, Coach, you need to know him. You need to know him. Y'all need to get together, and he needs to help you get the kids into the academy that you want. Yeah. And it was just like this story of like Coach K. It was like,
was this connector? Yeah. And I never followed basketball much, but I lived in North Carolina. Like we moved there at the beginning of high school, right? So like he's a legend.
Oh yes, that was my like getting there. It was like a story that I tell. It was kind of like all inspiring. I'm like, okay, Coach K, you're God and
hell yeah,
and men's college basketball, and you're pulling me aside and saying y'all two need to work together.
That's really cool, man.
So it was a good story coming in, and I did that for 3 years. Really enjoyed it. I got to go back and Lincoln with a bunch of guys that I went to school with at that time, because around that year time everybody kind of starts coming back. Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things. Is when I left West Point, it was, hey, I don't think I'll ever come back. It's like you go out the gates and it's like, I'm done. And that was a hard 4 years. I'm never coming back to that place. But then you stay and you're like, you know what? That place kind of helped me to, grow up to be the person I am today, the leader I am. And I really want to give back to that.
For sure.
And I want to meld the next group of leaders that are coming out. So I want to go back and do that. And, I did. I really enjoyed it. I got to go to all the football games, got to, Lincoln with all the guys that I played with, and
but you weren't getting like yelled at.
No. And I did it almost really felt like a, Monday through Friday, unless during the summer when we traveled a little bit and did some recruiting stuff. But you also got to link in with kids and like really help them follow their dream. And I still do it kind of today. I have since I've, kind of moved in this area of helping high school kids that are applying for the academies to say, hey, let me help you through this process, because this process is hard. Mm-hmm. It's not easy. Let me, help you and say, hey, you need to do this. Let me get you connected with somebody in the congressional office, your local office, to help you apply for their nomination.
That's cool.
And I really like that, because then when you would see them, they'd come up and, they get to follow their dream. And I think really the best part of seeing that is when I left West Point after being there 3 years and came to Fort Campbell in 2012, and I came back from deployment to Afghanistan, and I had lieutenants coming into my battalion when I was in S3 that I helped get into the academy.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have a lieutenant that comes to your desk and work in your S3 shop, and I look at him and I go, man, that name's familiar. And he goes, sir, you were my admissions officer at West Point. And I was like,
badass, like full circle moment.
Full circle of like, hey, and you're here.
You saw it through. Exactly. Hell yeah. Nice, man. Yeah, that's really cool. You played a massive, you're a huge piece of their entire life, like their whole career and development. So that's really cool to be, I don't know. I think it's a badass opportunity.
It is.
And it's an interesting variety of things you did. Like I didn't expect that you like went to Baylor for a couple years and you were back at West Point and you were active duty the whole time doing this. Yeah. Like that's very interesting. So, and then you ended up at Fort Campbell, still active duty, right? After that?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you at Fort Campbell?
I've been pretty much from 2012 on minus 2 years. I came back to Campbell at that time. This is still Afghanistan deployments are big.
Was this your final base?
I had 2 years at Fort Polk.
Oh, okay.
I came back there, and my dwell time at that time, they followed kind of dwell time, and so I'd been 2 years of grad school, 3 years of West Point. So like, hey, your dwell time's high. You need to go to a unit that's deploying. Yeah, got it. Understand. So I went to Fort Campbell, deployed with 1st Brigade. We deployed in 2012, 13, did an advising rotation. This is back when they were shifting away from the U.S. Army being in the lead, and it kind of went over to, okay, Afghans, you're in the lead, and we're going to support you through advising or having somebody around. So I was pulled in to do advising, and I advised 2 different Afghan battalion commanders. So I did advising at about a 16-man team, and we were, moving down to their base every single day or doing long trips flying. Because one base they had was about a 6-hour drive or about an hour flight by helicopter to get to their base to advise them. And he was a Afghan battalion commander that had an artillery battery, engineer company and stuff in it. So we made our team of people that were engineer officers, artillery officers, stuff like that, to help advise these guys on how to accomplish their mission.
Of course. And
give them training and stuff like that. So I did that that was about a 10-month deployment. We were training Afghanistan units pretty much to just take control. It was a new brigade that was in RC East or TAC East out in Nangarhar, Kunar, Providence, which was if you know anything, that's the big battle area that's always been, since we've been fighting, because everything coming over from Pakistan comes right through that area.
Yeah.
And up in the Pesh River Valley, up in Kunar, we were backed out of a lot of those areas, but we still had our presence that was up there. And that deployment, I had 16 guys that were part of my team, mostly officers and NCOs. I had 4 soldiers that were kind of security guys, because we would go in and talk to these Afghan leaders, and you had a bunch of other soldiers walking around. And of course, during that time, you had a lot of blue on green, a lot of people coming in that were getting paid by the insurgents that were part of the Afghan army that would come in and try to kill U.S. force that were in there, so advising them. So we had a little small security team that went with us, a couple soldiers and NCOs, and then I had my one medic that would roll with us. So we did that every day, just rolled out, spent about 4 or 5 hours with them, advising them whatever mission that was going on. And then we went back to our base, each day. We were right there in Nangarhar, and it was a good deployment for learning a little bit aspect of it, of there's a different part of the military, that's not just out there doing your war fighting mission. You're out there trying to support and grow other people. Special forces guys have done this for years. That's what they do. Yeah. They go in and embed inside of a unit, and they help build these units up. And that's what they did. And it was, we even see it now with the unit that they built in the Army that's advising units. They go out and they do these missions, and it was that kind of start of it. So it was good to see that and experience it and understand. There are different armies, there are different cultures, religions, all the stuff that play into how they fight, how they interact with people, and it's
really cool.
It was good to learn a little bit of, I had some interpreters that worked with us every day. And they, we'd constantly sit down with them. Okay, hey, help us out with understanding, why is this such a cultural issue? Why can't I get them to do this? Yeah, here it is. This is why. Yeah, you got to build relationships with them before you can get them to do anything. And it was a lot of us sitting over drinking chai. Yeah, trying to not really convince them, but to see why was this important for them to do this? Yeah. And it's still, you had to overcome a lot of corruption. Yeah, you got to see the corruption inside the Afghan army at that time. There was so much of it, ridiculous. A lot of ring kissing. You would see that. I had a colonel that I advised that was a garrison support unit, but then you had I think he was a 1-star that was the brigade commander. And when you would have people come down from division, or what they call their higher ups would come down, they would go see the garrison commander, because he controlled the money, he controlled the fuel. So when you control something, you have power. Yeah. And that's how they viewed it. And it was hard to he was the higher ranking officer, but he didn't control that. He didn't control the fuel. He didn't control the money. He didn't control those aspects of it. So you could be a lower ranking, but have more power in that army because of you controlled things. Yeah. And those resources were power for them. And it was hard. I mean, you're
trying to navigate around that, and you're like, oh, this is just such a distraction from the goal.
You're like, it's like understanding, we don't have that problem. It's like, we don't own any of this. This is not us. This is all Army. We're just here to do our mission. I've got leaders. I follow my orders. I can accomplish my mission. I respect my leaders, if they're respectable. Yeah. And there's nothing like that. If a higher ranking officer comes down or something comes up from higher headquarters, well, they go see the commander. I don't have any control on that. But it was hard. I mean, it was a funny dynamic, learning from it. And just, there's different sects of it. I mean, I enjoyed, learning a little Pashto while we were out there, a little Dari, talking with them. what the different cultures of Afghanistan that just kind of played into what you see sometimes in the movies, of us when we initially came into Afghanistan, and just learning that aspect of it and learning a lot of culture before we went, learned a lot of history about Afghanistan and what's kind of the multiple wars that have been fought in that country.
Yeah.
And no real winners, no war, it's still in the same place it is now that it was hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
So
pretty wild. And I've heard people talk about like being away in some of these villages too. I mean, they're like, I had somebody come on my show and he was talking about it and he's like, dude, just the people were amazing. That like you get to spend some time with. Sure, you got some crush and stuff like that, but overall, like they were just so kind.
Oh, they were, yeah.
And you appreciate that.
Oh,
it's probably a perspective shift for you guys too. Like, what you hear maybe stateside until you actually experience being around certain people. I mean, that's why I think everybody needs to just travel the world, and especially places with lesser than we have here, because your whole perspective will shift.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, you see people that don't have anything, but they will give you everything they have.
Yes.
You come in and they will, hey, I've accepted you into my house. I now protect you. If that aspect comes in that, Pashtun Wali, if I bring you into my house and, when I do that and I bring you in, I'm going to protect you against outside people.
Yeah.
And some of those leaders actually did that. I mean, they did that when they came in, they took it as an honor that you're coming in and helping us, and I'm going to protect you against anything else that's out there. So if people come in, you're here in my house, I'm going to protect you while you're in my house.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed that. And it was kind of changing the dynamic and coming back from that of learning a little bit about there and learning a little bit more about myself.
Nice, man. So that was a pretty powerful experience too. Sounds like a totally different change of gear, like shift in that the initial one you went on.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything else like that is a big highlight from that time before you come back?
No, I mean, we came back.
The whole team came back?
Yeah, right now. During that deployment, we only lost one guy that was part of our brigade in our area.
Okay.
He was one of our forward observers, so kind of somebody that we knew a little bit. He was out on patrol, and then a soldier or a young kid came up and knifed him from behind. So it was hard in that aspect. And I right before that deployment, I had a hard time. I mean, we were getting trained up, and we were in Fort Polk going through some training, and my roommate from West Point, he was a hockey player. We were roommates for about almost a year. And then we were up at West Point together because we just left from there. We were there working at the same time from 2009 to 12. And he was killed in Afghanistan right before I got there.
Dang.
So I was about a month before going on our pre-deployment to go and kind of do right seat ride for a little bit. My brigade was replacing his brigade in Nangarhar. And he was a brigade fire support officer for 4ID. And we, right before getting over there, I had, my real good buddy of mine gave me a call because I was in Louisiana. I wasn't connected with anything, and he gave me a call and told me, and it was hard because I went over there a month later and was connecting with friends that were in that unit, and it was hard because we were just together at West Point. He had two young kids that were twins. His wife that he had got married not too long before then, and it was a hard deployment going over there at that time and seeing that.
Yeah, that's a heavy weight knowing you lost your friend, but also knowing that you're going to the place where it was just lost. You're like, damn, that's like carrying that weight into the place, So, damn, sorry to hear that.
It's kind of gone on. I mean, we just went up to West Point, and his, he died in 2012, and his wife just passed away this year too from cancer. And they, his two kids that are, I think the same age as my son, they're 15, 16, and now they're living with their aunt. They were fortunate.
That's so hard.
Tunnel Towers, bought them a house or paid off their mortgage, and they were there living in the house, and then she passed away of cancer this past year. So we had a little tribute when we were there. Good friends that are part of our old lacrosse team. When we were up there, went to a tailgate, and of course, anybody giving money or anything went towards to help those kids.
Yeah.
I've got a jacket that I bought, I think it was about a year after he passed away, once I got back from my deployment. And it has a little figure on the side, and it has TK above it.
Oh, yeah.
And Tom Kennedy was his name.
Hey, hail Tom. Sorry for your loss, man. I know that's heavy, but, you know, it's powerful to know that, like, and hear how y'all have honored him, you know, moving forward, man. And you carry, you know, those, I always say, like, those you lose close to you, you carry their spirit with you. Right.
You do. Yeah.
So now coming back from that deployment, what was the next part? You're like, how long are you in at this point? I feel like we're on like a 30-year journey.
Years.
Okay.
It's 13 years. This was 2013 coming back. So I graduated in 2020.
Okay.
So I'm 13 years in. I'm a major at the time. And then I come back and end up staying at Campbell and end up being a S3 and executive officer for an FA battalion in 1st Brigade, 101st. So I did that. I went straight into working with that, and it, you know, as an S3 at that time, you know, you're getting at about 5:30 every day and working until about 6:30, 7 o'clock almost every night. So it was hard times, you know, just rowing away and getting ready for another deployment for some of us anyways. But just training and, you know, getting to learn that and really having a good time of leading soldiers in our battalion. I had a really good battalion commander during that time frame. He just came in right when he came back. So I did my whole 2 years with him while he was in command. And so I did that for 2 years, you know, just doing training missions, going to JRTC in Louisiana, you know, did a rotation there as a battalion executive officer. And I was about to kind of transition out, and I was ended up probably going up to what we call our division artillery headquarters for like next job. And JRTC, Joint Readiness Training Center, Louisiana, called up and said, "Hey, we want Matt to come here." And I was like, "Oh, hell no, I'm not going there. Screw that shit."
You didn't want to go there?
I'm not going, because you're in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana, in Leesville, or what we call Sleesville, Louisiana, in the piney woods of Louisiana. It's Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Okay.
And it's just, I mean, there's a brigade there, but it's the Joint Readiness Training Center, which is where they bring every light brigade through training, and you get, you know, observed, you know, evaluated on your mission or whatever it is. So it's like 30 days of intense training. You're in the field for about almost 20 of those days, but you deploy your whole unit there, everything. You do your MDMP process. You come up with your plan of how you're going to attack whatever the mission is. And then you do a forcible entry, either airborne, jumping out of aircraft 82nd, or, you know, you're doing air assault. And we observe them. So I was told, "Hey, you're going here." I said, "No, I'm not." And I fought it all the way up to division commander. And, you know, division commander asked my division artillery commander, who's a colonel, and he said, "Hey, is this the right person going?" He was like, "Yeah." So I got told, "You're going."
To Leesville you went.
Yeah. And I come to find out it was a buddy of mine that I played football with at West Point. And I said, "Man, you screwed me over."
Yeah.
You're
supposed to look out for me, man.
Well, he was like, "Man, we're supposed to be bring the right people back here." And he's like, "Hey, you just did a rotation here.
Yeah.
You're, you know, jump master qualified, you're air assault qualified, you know, light unit's going to come through here. You have all the qualifications, and you came through and did a really, you know, stellar job when you came through here."
Yeah.
And those are the people we want to come back here to train.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
it makes sense. Yeah.
It does, but you know, I still didn't want to do it. Yeah. It was a hard time. I went by myself, there. So, it was 26 months there. I did 20 rotations in that time, and each rotation was about a year long, or not, a month long, and I would be in the field for about 17 days of that month.
Yeah.
And living out of my Humvee, you know, and having an ice
They're
chest.
pretty cozy too.
Oh yeah, really cozy. Living on a 2.5, 3-inch mat that rolled out, and that's what I slept on every night.
Nice.
It was not a fun time, but I mean, it was, I mean, rewarding when it came to job wise, suffering when it came to personal wise, because that time frame, it was hard. You know, at that time, my kids and everything were back here, and having to travel back, it was a struggle, put a strain. And I didn't,
So you had a family at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't, I didn't handle it as well, as I should. And this is part of my learning process, what we get into of things that I did that were wrong, that were not right, and things that, that I went through, and the dynamics, of, other people not doing the right thing. And it was a struggle. I mean, it was, that time frame, leading up, even that time, and then afterwards, was a struggle on me personally. Professionally, kind of well, because I went down there at the time. I'm a major, and my first look for lieutenant colonel. I came out from deployment, and we're supposed to go to what's called individual learning. It's a ILE, and you're supposed to go to this before promotion to lieutenant colonel. And while I was deployed, there was a backlog. So they're like, hey, if you're year group 97 to 01 and you're not slotted into this, you need to do it by distance learning. So I was like, well, shit, I'm going to have to do this shit on my own while I'm still doing my job, when everybody else gets to go to Leavenworth and spend 10 months of just focusing on doing that.
Yeah.
So I had to do it. And I was doing, I hadn't started doing it because, literally, I didn't know what time I would have. I just got back from a deployment, straight into, working 12, 13-hour days. And I didn't focus on it, but I was going to focus on it when I was coming out of my XO time, because I had a little bit of time to get it done before, I was going to be looked for my first look for lieutenant colonel. And I got told, hey, you're going to Fort Polk. And I was like, well, shit, when the hell am I going to get to do this now? Because I'm in the field 17 days of every single month, and, train up before then. So it was like, I didn't get a chance to finish it before my first look, so I got passed over my first look to lieutenant colonel. And it was a struggle that year. That year was when they decreased the number of brigades in the division, and we lost a FA battalion command slot in every single division. So they only promoted 48% of the majors that year to lieutenant colonel.
Oh, okay.
So there was a lot of us that didn't get picked up. So I was down there and went through and did my, what we called a box of books, got it finished after that. And then when I looked at my second look, my senior rater at that time didn't help me out, because he's like, man, hey, you already got passed over your first time. I'm not going to help you out. So I got passed over for lieutenant colonel the second time, and they were like, okay, you're going to get to retire as a major. So, because I'd already had, by that time, it would have been, by the time they say, hey, you got to get out, I would have had over 18 years. So they're like, okay, you can stay on. And I was able to stay on and get 21 and a half. So it, I had a lot of, leaders that were with me. They were like, man, that sucks, because, they just passed over on a great leader. And now it's going to, it's this dynamic of how they had to do it was not right. But, because after that, I went into lieutenant colonel positions and was filling the lieutenant colonel role, but staying as a major.
Didn't have the rank.
Didn't have the rank. So they gave me all the responsibility.
Jacked up.
No rank and pay.
Yeah, like, can you exactly, like, do more, but with the same.
Exactly.
It's kind of jacked up.
So I did that 2 years there, and then I was told, hey, get yourself back to Fort Campbell. It was kind of dynamic with at that time my family. And my ex-wife, talk one thing about it. It was like, hey, you need to come back. If you do, we're not moving. So you need to find whatever way you come back. And I said, okay, no problem. If I do that, I'm going to sell my soul and I'm going to deploy again. And I did. 6 months after coming back from there, being gone 2 years, I deployed to Afghanistan again. So I did another 10 months in Afghanistan on division staff for the 101st. And so that was that whole time frame was a long time away from family, and that kind of set down the path where I am and struggles that I'm going through now with kids and that time frame.
Was that deployment pretty much similar to the other ones, or
it was a little different. So I was in division fires, so we were the 101st was in charge of all of operations in Afghanistan. So we were the division headquarters. We were the higher headquarters for all operations, all U.S. operations in Afghanistan. And I was, at that time, we were going into more of an offensive role a little bit. So we set up a strike cell, and then we were doing a division targeting process. So for me, of all my deployments, that was a deployment that I actually got to do what my job was at that level.
Yeah.
I mean, we were building strikes, managing them, running, managing all resources that came to fires for the whole whole of Afghanistan were the U.S. forces, and actually having some effects. And, I say that's, having some effects of actually, taking the enemy out.
Yeah.
And dropping bombs.
A little more intense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and for me, that was like, that aspect of, and that deployment, when it comes to my job, was more rewarding than, it was harder than any of my other deployments. Cause, when you're at that senior level of 2-star level, and 3-star level, it is, it's intense. I mean, when I talk about 18-hour days, I mean, it was like literally up at 7:00 in the morning, rode to about midnight, and then, and I'd get a couple workouts in the day, and then I was in bed at midnight and back up again at 6:00 in the morning.
Intense.
Started all over again.
Yeah.
And but it was good. I mean, you actually got to say, you know what, I actually had some effects.
Yeah.
I was able to take, enemy that were affecting U.S. forces and Afghan forces off the battlefield and see the effects of like, okay, that by doing that saved some Afghan soldiers' life. They didn't get hit by IDF for the next 2 weeks, or our U.S. soldiers were actually got to do their mission and not have, indirect fire, IEDs or whatever it was, by taking that bad person off the battlefield.
Hell yeah, man.
So that was, I mean, I when it came to job wise, I really enjoyed that, but I worked my ass off on that deployment.
Yeah. So you sold your soul, but you got to go do some work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to do some work. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I mean, when you're sitting in that strike cell, actually getting to see coordinating of everything coming together of like, hey, I've got an A-10 on station. I have everything that needs to be here. I've got, Colonel or 1-star saying, yes, you got release authority. And we've found the bad guy. We have him, and we're going to take care of that.
Yeah. It's also, you're like, this is what all my years of training, like, this is what my job is. Like,
yes.
So I'm doing it full force now.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, you got to accomplish that goal of experiencing it on the top tier level.
It was,
And
I mean, I managed a team, division fires. We had probably about 18 guys with senior level warrant officers and NCOs. And it was, I mean, getting to see that team and getting to see a team that really hum at high level and really fire of like, hey, this is our mission today. This is what we're doing. And that whole process of getting that approval, finding them, using, all the gee whiz gadgets that we had in the Army, and up to the higher level of, of above us, special forces guys, and just bringing that together and going, okay, here's our mission today. We got that accomplished.
Nice.
He's now gone. Take him off the board.
Good shit. So you got to come home. You felt pretty accomplished after that.
I did. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. But budding the end of your career, you come back from deployment, feeling fired up. I mean, you said, you did your job. But like you said, there's been some tension, I guess, in the home life on top of that. Yeah. You come back to Fort Campbell, you said.
Yep.
You're right at the end of it now, at this point, right?
I'm 19 years in. So I only had really, when I came back to deployment, 2 years, and I was retired. So it was like, this was the last bit.
So take us from this into this and then to your transition.
Okay. So I get back from deployment and things have not been good, when it comes during the deployment with, kids. My son was younger, and when I deployed, he was born at West Point. So this deployment, he was about 6 years old. So, kind of a, pivotal time, of growing up. My daughter was junior high, time frame, starting into high school. And, there was a lot of things that went on during that deployment. I'll say I was not the best communication wise, and that was suck. And things I've looked at back and said, hey, you know what, I could have done better, and I should have done better during that time. I was not good, and it's things that I've learned now of how to communicate a lot better. And it's talking back before of the dynamics. Growing up, I lived in a house that we didn't communicate. Yeah. We didn't talk through our issues. Great growing up support, but there were things that were not discussed on how do you effectively communicate and talk through your feelings and really grow in that aspect. And, I didn't learn it.
And the military doesn't train you to do that either.
Yeah.
Do your job, be the warfighter, right?
And I had a spouse at the time that didn't either, that avoided stuff too. And that aspect of it, I struggled with that. And, it put tension, on the family dynamics. And, my daughter, and we'll talk about that here, getting into it, was not the easiest person. She was a difficult child.
Yeah.
And still have things that we're, working through. So come back from deployment, we got back, the dynamics was not good, but it was like, and I was like coming back, it's like, okay, I'm done. The military's done. There's no more deployments. I have 2 years and I'm retired. 1 year, I'm dropping my retirement paperwork. I'm done. I don't care where, the Army's done. I'm done. I'm retiring. So it's like, whatever we want to do. 6 months later, it was when my spouse at the time, offered for divorce. So she was like, hey, I can't do this anymore. So, and there was during that time trying to repair it, I know there was issues and I'm trying to, hey, let's get help. Let's repair. It's sometimes a little too late, with it. But I went through that and since then of trying to, and that was the whole time was really hard on, my kids, communication wise during that deployment was hard when I didn't do the best of communicating and talking with them and calling as best as I could. I know I should have done better than that. But then that time frame, I knew coming back as I wanted to repair that. I saw that in my kids, and literally, after that, my job was like, I go to my job, but hey, I'm done.
Yeah.
And unless there's a warfighter that we had to get trained up for, I'm done at 4:30 every day. I'm going home.
Yep.
See y'all. I'll come in, I'll do whatever I need to do, but I'm gone every day.
Checked out. Yeah.
Because I'll support mission wise, but we just got back from deployment. I'm on the end of my career. I need to focus on kids wise. And I try to do that. And it was, sometimes not well received or didn't work because there's a lot of animosity, when it came to more than my daughter of what just went through during that deployment.
Yeah.
So, coming back from that. So now, I'm on the end of my career and now going through, divorce and going like, how do I handle this? How to do this? My ex-wife left in 2019, moved up to Kentucky. And at that time, my kids, kind of stayed with me a little while until my son got through 5th grade. And so I was a single dad, still trying to handle, the last part of my career and, having kids and then going through COVID. Because COVID hit during that time frame. So, kids at home, I'm trying to go through work, managing that and doing my best. You know how to be
a soldier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that doesn't help on the home front.
No, it doesn't. And at that time I haven't done the reflection and getting the help that, I'm getting now. At that time, I wasn't.
This is a pretty common theme too, unfortunately.
It is. And I'll tell you, the dynamics is, my ex-wife was a therapist. She might be a therapist that was great for her friends, but shitty therapist when it came to family. Because it yes, I screwed up, but I was willing to work through it. But there was no help on the home front. She checked out during that deployment. So it was one of those when my kids went through some times there that not only was I putting stress on it, she did too. So,
and you came back, but you came back with the intention because to maintain that, right?
Yeah, I did.
And you got deployed. You knew you would have no choice in that front. So
and that's a lot of things. I was like, I coming back there, I knew I was deploying, and I think that was forgotten. An aspect of like, hey, if I'm coming back there, I'm deploying. So that's another 10 months being gone.
Yeah, for
me to come back, and that was inevitable. I said, hey, I come back, I'm gone. It is, and it was 6 months after come back, deployed again.
Boom. So.
But, trying to work through those, and it didn't work out. But there was, me thrown in that dynamic of trying to be a single dad, transition out of the military. I had about a year out. I was dropping my retirement paperwork in December, and then, it was a year out from me starting my transition process and managing household, kids. COVID was hitting. Trying to repair a relationship with more for anything with my daughter. My son was still kind of building that. He was young, more resilient. I think hadn't developed his animosities to to dad, yeah, I was gone. But my daughter was different.
They don't quite understand it.
It doesn't. I mean, my daughter, she was in high school. She understood, and there was some other difficulties that, I won't necessarily go into all of them, with her. That was already difficult. She'd been a difficult child, hard to deal with, pretty much most of her life. I say, when we first met, she was, we'll call strong-willed, child. One of those ones is like, I'm going to give you every bit of resistance I can, whatever you're trying to do, because, I want to do it my way.
Which is good when they're like grown in certain, in life, right? And facing the world. But with your parents, it's like, how do you change it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And, I struggled through it and didn't have any help. And it goes back to the, didn't seek the help either. And that's things that I've, learned through that process now, that Tiffany's helped me recognize what we're going through now of learning and communicating, her showing me how to be a better communicator, how to express, my feelings, my kids, but still hold the line of like, hey, I understand, what it is, but going forward, I'm changing. I'm going through and getting help. I'm trying to change, but going forward, we're not going to have the same dynamics that's been going on. And that's building, those, hey, this is, not necessarily a boundary, but this is how we're going to operate. You're not going to treat me that way anymore. I'm not your, I'm your dad. And if you want me to treat you and be respectful, you're going to be respectful to me.
100%.
And you're an adult now. And if you want me to treat you as an adult, I'm going to treat you as an adult. Because if you want to be an adult, I'll treat you just like I treat the other adult over here. If they do that to me, then I'm going to remove them, because that's not how I operate. And that's kind of
like boundaries. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
I do got to say, not to interrupt, but I'm just picturing this career military, Army, major, like, that's what you know.
Yes.
And like at the very end of it, you're trying to figure out how to like what you're going to, do afterwards. You're trying to be a single father. Like, man, that's a lot on your plate that you did not expect.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. And then you're trying to learn, you don't even know how to really communicate. And well, one, because you didn't see it in your childhood. But then in the military, it's not like they're not trying to teach you how to communicate with at the home, and I see this issue a lot with people, like their home life struggled in the military careers because they just knew how to be a soldier or whatever they were doing. And, which is something I hope to see change, because that can change the dynamic with I believe with like suicides and stuff like that too.
100%.
Big time. Cause you could have the worst job in the world. If you come home to a loving home, you're going to be in a better place. Right. That's how I look at it. But yeah, man, it's a lot to take on. So, I just got to throw that out there. It's just a combination of a lot of chaos.
It was,
but you're here, so I'll let you continue, but I just wanted to highlight that.
It was. I mean, there was, chaos when you're transitioning out, the military, of not knowing what's next, but then, chaos in your personal life, kids. I mean, because they're not aspect time of it. My son was with me for a little bit, and then he got ripped out. He, moved up there with his mom. So, that critical time, I think, in his life, he didn't have a dad. I didn't have my son. And it was, moving up to Kentucky, I couldn't go nowhere. I had to be there. And it was, I only got to spend, 1 weekend a month with him, just because it was 3.5 hours away. Yeah. That, was a struggle for me. My daughter stayed, because she was finishing up high school and then going to college. But I mean, that wasn't necessarily the positive aspect, because there were dynamics between her and I that were not good. And, she resented her mom at that time, but then that resentment changed to resent me, in it. And, still fighting through that, it's like, hey, you resented your mom because she left, but then that changed over, and now you resent me, and I was the bad person during the whole time. And Tiffany's helped me when it comes to determine in those relationships like that. My daughter felt like, my daughter said that, or she told me, working through with my daughter's like, she's making you her villain. She wants to blame you for all of it and not take any ownership in it herself. Yes, I had a part in it. I understand that, and I understand my part, and I want to, part of it say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. I tried to do my best with it, but I didn't have all the tools with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do it, and I thought I was doing it, the best way that I knew, but it wasn't the right way.
But you can't change it.
Right. But she didn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
It was like, you didn't help me through it. I know you're the kid in an aspect of it, but the way you were wasn't making it any easier. And we're still trying to go through that dynamics now because my daughter, went to college and moved away, went to UT for 2 years, and then moved back to, with her mom, and has been living with her mom for the past 2 years in a house that she has there. So, and our dynamics hasn't really changed a lot because her relationship, throughout this time, my kids are like, hey, I wanted to set them up for, to be an adult. And, and I was like, hey, I put money away for your college. You're getting some of my 9/11 GI Bill. I want to make sure that I'm helping you set up for success to be an adult.
Yeah.
Your college is pretty much undergrad, paid for. And she did. It was paid for. She didn't have to worry about much. She had a 529 that supported her college. 9/11 GI Bill was paying for some of it. And then the VA, for being 100% disabled, was paying for her too afterwards. So she didn't need to, there wasn't much that she, didn't get in that support.
Yeah.
But as a good father, it was kind of like, hey, I have this, put this money away for you. But I'm going to still manage it and say, hey, I'm not letting you blow through it.
Yeah, of course.
And she was constantly like, hey, well, I want money out to do this. I'm like, no, I'm not, this money is put away for this. And it's been a constant battle till about a year ago to where I told her, I was like, you know what? No, period. This money is going to pay for your tuition, and that's it. Because she wanted to take money out to give her mother rent. And I was like, no. I was like, you're not going to do that. And of course, that was put ball back on me to be, oh, well, you're controlling, and you always want to control me with money. I was like, no, it's called being a parent.
Yeah.
It's kind of teaching you the right thing, and that you're not just going to blow through this. And it's not, oh, what's my money? Well, technically, I put the money away for your college, not for you
it's
to
not in your hands.
Spend it on whatever you want to spend it. So that's put a lot of strain on a relationship. And I finally was like, when I did that, I was like, okay, hey, you continue to say, hey, I control you with money. Okay, no problem. Take the money out of it. Your college, this money here is only for your college fund. Remove money from our relationship. Our relationship going forward is on mutual respect. I was like, if you want to, then we're going to have respect. And there's going to be certain things that are going forward that are not going to happen anymore. Here's the boundaries. In the last 10 months, we really haven't had any communication at all because of those things that have set.
Sorry to hear that.
And she tried to, I appreciate that. And she tried to come back in recently, but it was kind of like, I want to discuss things that are going on me, the work that I've done, and not address the things that you did to hurt myself and Tiffany. And she wanted to overlook that. I'm like, no, that's not how it's going to happen. We're going to address those things because, in the past I might not have, but the work that Tiffany and I have done and the journey that I've been on is to say, no, we're going to talk about these things because just like you said, avoiding it in time is not healing that.
Yeah.
One thing I think she said from her podcast, intentional effort over time is what's going to help it.
Exactly.
And that was that intentional effort of like, hey, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about this because you did stuff wrong to us and we're going to address it if we want to move forward.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then okay, we're not having the conversation.
I could tell it really hurts though.
It does because you want to have the relationship with your daughter.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter's everything to me.
Right.
And so I feel for you because I couldn't imagine having a struggle, a dynamic like that, and I just hate it for you. Yeah. I've talked to some people that a little bit older and stuff, and you're at a place where you're just loving her unconditionally, but in order to heal, you can't bypass all this. Confronting what needs to be confronted. Exactly. Because then that's not healing through it. You're not working on it. You're just throwing another Band-Aid over.
Yeah. And I get she's done her healing with her therapist, and, she's been in school to be a therapist. And she's working on herself of past things that happened, in the past. that whether we're done or whatever it is, but it's, I mean, yeah, we can talk about those and work on those, but we're not going to overlook the things that you've done to us.
Yeah.
You're going to respect that, and we're going to talk about it, and then we can continue to work on the other things. Yeah. But that's, and it's hurt because, I mean, it's got to the point now, it's like, hey, unless we do, we're not going to sit down and have it. We're going to have that discussion. We're going to talk about the things you did, the things that you hurt us on, and we're going to speak through those and own what we did. I know I own things that I did wrong.
Of course.
And I'm trying to change those things and be a better person and get the help, that I need to show that and to sit down and have that discussion and go, yes, you know what? I was wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't have those tools back then.
Take your time.
But I'm here.
All good, man.
But I'm here to work through those.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have my spouse. I'm going to have Tiffany there with me because, she's brought me into the light and showed me these things.
Yeah.
You got me on here to do this.
Do what? Hey, man.
So
you're feeling it, man, and that's okay. That's okay. And it shows that you genuinely care. It's a tough thing to carry, and I'm sure there's a lot of fathers out there, ex-military fathers, veterans that are struggling with a similar dynamic that feel this way. I mean, there's got to be, and so, maybe they feel like they're alone in it, and here you are sharing that, and you're feeling it, and I think that's a really positive thing for others to see as well.
Yeah.
And so thank you for.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks. And I totally agree with you with that. I mean, it's part of the things that it's taken me time to sit down and recognize that and, get the help that I need. And I can't say thank you enough to Tiffany, who's showed me that and said, hey, let me help you through this.
Yeah.
And let me help you to be a better person, or not really a better person, but let me help you recognize this and find a better way to move forward and a better way to communicate and talk. Cause I haven't, and I'm trying to show that even to my son now of like, hey, cause he's a mini me a lot of times. I mean, he's not had parents that have sat down and showed him, hey, this is how to correctly communicate and talk through your feelings and in a constructive way and be respectful and talk through and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. You did this. This is how it's making me feel, instead of bottling it up and keeping it inside, to explain how you're feeling and do it respectfully. And then actually for me to receive that and go, you know what? I see how I did that. I see how I made you feel in that. I'm sorry with that. Let's work on correcting that.
Yeah.
Myself, let's work on me correcting that because I can see how I did that. And I can't thank, Tiffany enough of what, she's done to help me, go down that path. It's been powerful of learning that, and getting the help that, need of, hey, let's recognize that. Let's look at that. Here's a better way to work through that than what you've done in the past that hasn't been productive. But that's the only way you've been taught, that you grew up seeing that as an example. Let me show you a better example of that.
Not to interrupt it, but that's beautifully said. And, I posted something talking about like why men are how they are for the most part. And this lady had commented, she's like, now how do we fix that? And it's like this, giving them the space. And where I'm getting at with that is Tiffany's giving you the space to feel it and start that process. And I get that with Lydia. My life was, I'm very close to my family, but, as far as I was concerned, communication was just like having a big argument and yelling about it, and then going into adulthood and being in, 2 engagements prior to Lydia, if there was something I didn't like or felt a certain way, I would just be like, let's just store that up. Let's just store it up in there. Just got to be a man to deal with it.
Compartmentalize it.
And then there you had this big blowout. And then things get a little ugly, and you start even if you don't call somebody a name, you're thinking it. You know what I'm saying? If you do, you do. I mean, but then the result of that is just nothing. You just had a fight. But you didn't really fix anything. You didn't confront it. You didn't talk about it. You didn't figure out how to move forward. You just had a fight, and it's like, oh, the fight's over. Let's go.
Right.
Take a step forward, right? And just like with Tiffany, Lydia allowed that for me. When I met Lydia, I talk about this all the time. I started having like anxiety stuff, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna fuck this up. What's that?
Do we need to reset?
Oh, no, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
I didn't see the hourglass.
No, I forgot to flip the hourglass this time. But I was like, oh, man.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Hey, thanks for looking out, though. I appreciate that. But I'd be like, fuck, man. I'd be like, I don't know. This is too good to be true. Like, I'm going to fuck this up. I mean, you're better off just like going now. I would say that. I'd be like, I'm going to jack this up. This is such a beautiful thing. And it's just like, it's not even real.
Yeah. And
I'd just spiral. And like, some nights I couldn't sleep. I'd sit there on the couch. I'd go on the couch and just be like, and I wouldn't tell her about it. And then, one day we were talking about it, and she's like, Joe, just feel it. I was like, oh, you're not taking this personal? She's like, Joe, this is all a compilation of things in your past. Like, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. And I just like let it go. And then that was such a pivotal moment, man. And like, because of her, like that set the trajectory for like, moving forward in my life and actually being able to communicate and learning what that is. And we do have disagreements, we're individuals. We're going to have disagreements. We shouldn't agree on everything. Yeah. But we talk about it. Okay. Why? And we get to the bottom of it. Sometimes there needs to be a little bit of space. She needs space to like get her bearings, and we'll talk. But like, it's a beautiful thing. And, I have to bring that up because like, I feel that to my core, what you're saying. Like Tiffany has definitely been a blessing in your life. And I think for men in this world, like, dude, we can sit there and go to war and do all this shit that we do. Like, that's what we're, that's in our genetic code. Yeah. We've been doing that for thousands of years. But to reach our full potential, we just need a good woman that's going to give us the space to work on the shit that's inside. Yeah. And then you got both sides of it. And that's how you become like that just like the ultimate avatar of like what a man should be. That's masculinity, is being able to have both of those things. Does that make sense?
100%.
So I had to put that out there.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, 100% what you're saying. I mean, this is the first time that I've felt, where I have a partner that's saving space for me, that I can sit down and talk with and her, listen and try and to understand and give me the time to talk. And I'm learning that. Yeah. I'm learning to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, because I haven't done that in the past, and I haven't felt that to have that in a relationship. And she's brought that and shown me that like, hey, I'm here to save space for you. Come and talk and explain to me how you're feeling. And I'm learning that because she is very expressive of her feelings. And there's a lot of times that I don't understand it. And I'm trying to learn to save space to allow her to talk through her feelings and not, take it as offensive, like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Yeah. I want to fix it. No, just allow me to talk through my feelings.
Yeah.
And it's, I might have things that are going on that I'm explaining that you have done or whoever's done, but just allow me to have that time to do it and save space. I'm working on that. I have not had that, and it is a work in progress, for me to do that and giving her space to say, yes, say what, explain, have freedom to say whatever. I'm here to listen, to, hold you, to give you love and say, hey, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm here.
And it'll be constant work, and that's okay too. Correct. It's how you grow.
It is. And I'm learning that, and she's helping me to learn that.
Yeah.
Because I have not had that. And it's, I still battle it. There's times where I'm not. And I've got to get out of my own head and say, hey, this is not, she's not against you. She's, she's trying to explain her feelings and process through this.
Yeah. Whatever
it is, could be with me, could be with, my kids, could be with whatever it is, things that she's talked about, during y'all's podcasts. And I've got a safe space for that and allow her the opportunity to talk through it.
I love it.
I'm old, just like I said, knuckle dragger that's trying to
it's good to
learn.
See and that's the thing though, you like and I see dudes that are like influencers. I'm gonna say this real quick before the camera's cut off, but you see guys that are like influencers and they're like, men don't need to be talking about their feelings, they need to be doing this and this, and I just want to put my hand on their shoulder and be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like that's only going to get you so far. Like, great, you may be a successful businessman, but like, what are your personal relationships like? And like that mindset, people that spew those things, because it's like, did you do 3 deployments, or have you just made a bunch of workout videos with your shirt off and you just look tough? But what are you bottling in, bro? Because like, there's nothing. They condemn others that are sharing their feelings, talking about it being weak. But I know some tough freaking dudes that are now starting to confront these things. For a lot of veterans, like emotionally, practically, just mentally in general, that transition out of the military is one of the most difficult things they do face.
Yeah.
When you did leave that uniform behind, what were you wrestling with yourself the most moving forward into the civilian world?
I think, when it comes to personal or professionally, it is trying to find who you are in that next journey. You've defined yourself for the last 20 years professionally of being in the military, being an officer, and that's what you've kind of defined. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I've done. Mm-hmm. Now I'm transitioning out, and it's like, what am I going to get into, and how am I going to define myself going forward?
Yeah.
What's going to define me? And I want to, it's that struggle to find that right fit. And, we were talking earlier, a lot of people who transition out of the military struggle with that, to find something that's going to fit what they've just left.
Yeah.
Because in Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, you're part of a team. Mm-hmm. And it is not a me, organization. It's a we, it's a us.
Yeah.
It's what's best for the organization, what's best for the team. Yeah. And we're all going to work to performing the team. So the team operates at the highest level.
How do you find something else like that? Yeah.
When you get into corporate world and it's like, it's all about a me dynamic, and it's, I'm going to take care of me. I don't care what, the corporate, yes, I want it to do well because it's better for me, but I'm worried about me. It's a difference, I think, with a boss and a leader, aspect of it is I want to find an organization that can come in and be a leader.
It's interesting you bring this up, because when I started my brand, that was what I was all about. I brought on a team.
Yeah.
And it's you just like made this click, honestly, because like that team's not here, man. When I couldn't give out more or do more things for them because I had a building and all this stuff, like they were gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I thought we were a team. Like this is Relentless Pursuit. Like we're going to do this together. They didn't sign up for that. They didn't sign up for like my shifts, my changes. But, and I'm not saying all civilians are like this, but they didn't have that background or understanding of that team aspect. A couple of them did, so it's disappointing, but it's just very similar, I guess. It went from being me having this team, the flashing lights, to like, oh shit, it's just me with my back against like I'm flat on my back in the middle of the dirt. You know what I'm saying? Thank God for my wife and daughter. Because that's the purpose right there. But yeah, it's just, you brought that up, and I was like, damn, that hits. Is that the team thing is such an important aspect for us as veterans, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get somebody on board with you that believes in that mission.
Yeah,
that believes in what you're doing. If they're not then they're not part of that. What Tiffany said. Build your team. And that team's got to be on board that's going towards that same mission going forward. And if they're not, then are they a good member of your team?
Even amidst the struggles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's, learning that and going forward, I tell people, and I work with military people all the time, and try to talk to them before they transition out. And it's like, hey, take the time, the Army's got great Army, all services have a great transition now. They allow you to do internships. They allow you to do this, and it helps you. That's cool. That last 6 months, I did it. I went through what's called Hire Heroes. It's run through Chamber of Commerce, and it's an internship. And they give you roughly about 3 months or so for you to find an organization that you want to do an internship with and work for them. They help you build your resume. They help you get into the industry you want or find, industry. And you do this during that time. And you're working usually Monday through Thursday, and on Friday, everybody meets back together. Yeah. And you kind of go through and you're like, okay, what can we do to help you with this transition? Who do we need to bring in? And they bring in people that have gone through this in the talk. They'll bring in, people that are in heads of Walmart, people that have gone through this that can help you, whatever field you want to go in. And they bring these people. There's somebody that leads it. And I did that through here in Campbell, and we kind of had the whole area of central Tennessee and into Alabama. And we had probably about 30 something people that were going through it at the same time.
Sweet.
And I went through during COVID. I didn't know I was going to go into the field that I'm in now. Yeah. I always thought, I was like, okay, hey, you're coming out of 20 years in the military. What has been your really core thing that you learned? Leadership, management. You've been doing it for 20 something years of managing people. And I think that's an easy transition, what I've done from, a platoon to a battery to a battalion of 500 and something soldiers, managing them. So that's what I thought I was going to do. Yeah. And try to find an organization. And during COVID, it didn't work. There wasn't, many organizations that were piping up and saying, hey, we'll take on an internship and here's the career field, and it would fit with what, I wanted. So I had background, my MBA, it was concentration in finance. My undergrad at West Point was economics. So I kind of had a good background in finance. It was like, found this organization, and their mission melded directly with what I wanted. We help service members. Yeah. And I'm connected to service members. And everybody that I work with in my office is either retiree, transition out, or a spouse of a service member. So sweet. All of us understand the mission. All of us understand what we've gone through. And now there's this organization that, I'm my own business owner. I'm part of it. But we're here to support, predominantly support service members. That's what our mission is. I mean, we help everybody, but that's what it is.
That's the focus.
That's our mission, is to support.
Oh yeah.
Service, help accomplish their financial goals.
Now, what do you want people to understand about the emotional and identity shift veterans face?
Say again? Sorry.
Like the emotional and the identity shift that veterans face. Like, what would you, maybe give people a takeaway, like get them to understand about that as they transition out?
I think that there are a lot, it's not on your own. There's a bunch of organizations out there that are here to help through that. And it goes back to the same, don't struggle through alone, even if it's professionally, personally, through whatever dynamics. There is so much out there to help you through that process. Yeah. But you have to go out there and seek it. If you don't, and you're going to do a struggle alone, you're going to struggle through on your own. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't be successful in doing that, but there is so much out there.
And show them some grace,
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
When I sit in front of soldiers and I'm doing whatever brief it is, or, I'm talking to units, I always ask all of them, it's like, who in here is retired from the military? Who's in here to transition out of the military? And of course, none of them, because they're in the military. And I'm like, I raise my hand. Yes, I've done it. I'm not saying I did it the right way, but I've done it. And I can sit down with you and say, okay, hey, let's think about some things that'll help with that transition. Yeah. Here are some tools out there that can help you. Here are some people that can link you up with that will help you. That if you want to be in this field, okay, hey, maybe there's somebody out there that I know. It's all about connections. Yeah. When you come out there, it is get connected to one person who might know another person that's going to help you through it.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it is. I mean, it's hard. It is when you transition something that you've known for majority of your adult life. I mean, I went to West Point. I was 18 years old. All I've known is the Army for 25 plus years of school and Army. So it's like, that's been my life more than, it has before. And now I'm like, okay, now I got to do this. And it's a struggle. But it can be, it can be a positive thing because I tell people that a lot of the skills you had in the military, people are wanting that. They want to find people like you. They want that. They want somebody that's coming out. It's like, hey, the team is more important than the I. Come and work for me. Yeah. Because, hey, if you're all about the team and you're going to put yourself before, or you're going to put the team before yourself and make sure that we're productive together and you're going to lead.
From the back.
Yeah. You're going to lead and you're going to help others. I always said when I was in the military, my job is to train my replacement. I want to train you to be a better version of me. So when I leave, this organization is better. Yeah. I have somebody that can step up and take over me because we move. Every position you're in, you're going to move. You're in it for 1 to 2 years. And hopefully you've imparted wisdom and training on people that are under you to step up and become a better version. Yes. 110%. And it's like to find that in a company, it's like, hey, I'm not worried about, me. I want to help train you to be a better me. So if I move on, this organization steps up and it's more successful. It's
really cool that you give people like the resources and you help them facilitate that that transition. So props to you for what you do, man. I think it's great. Now back to the real work you're in today. Okay. And I know we're touching on some things. We can dive back into that. You did say something, you mentioned checking your baggage at the door. So how has that impacted, family dynamics?
So, this is something we talked before. So I guess when I was, at West Point, it was part of our deal in football. It's like, cause you had a cadet life and then you had your football. So when you came up to the football stadium and you were ready for workout, it was check your baggage at the door. Forget about everything that's going there. Let's focus on our job we have here, our mission here. And I kind of took that into the military of like, hey, when I came home, check your baggage at the door. Anything that happened while you were at work, don't bring that forward into the home, vice versa. And what I've learned and talking through in my development and Tiffany helping me recognize this, that's not necessarily the best thing sometimes because you want somebody to help you. And this is the learning of, she's a person that's saving space for me, that now I have somebody that I can come to and talk to. And I don't want to just check my baggage at the door because I might need help to get through that hard thing. Yeah. Because I didn't do that. There are hard things that I've had in my career that I didn't come to somebody. I didn't say, hey, this is really affecting me. I need help with this. Yeah. And she's helped me learn that that's not necessarily the best thing to do. Because you need to come home and sometimes like, hey, I need to talk to you about this. Can, give me a second to get through this and have somebody say, I could see that. I understand that. That's hard, not try to fix it or anything, but just listen. And I'm learning to do that because I didn't, and we go back to, me not saying get promoted to lieutenant colonel. I didn't share that with my uncle who was a, colonel until later. And he's like, man, why didn't you come to me and talk about that? I could have sympathized with you and sit down with you and said, hey, that sucks. And you've poured a lot into your career and, and it's not, it's not going to go forward or, it's going to stop. And, I didn't, but he sat down and said, hey, I could have been that sounding board to listen to you and talk. And that was like, compartmentalizing and keeping stuff to me, and say, hey, I don't want to share that. I don't want to burden anybody with that. Oh God. That's a journey that, I'm on now. That, I thank my wife for that of, hey, share, and be okay with sharing because we're doing this together.
Yeah, man. Dude, I feel that to the core. Something, I've I've faced some hardship, some hard shit in the past few years in my business, and I'm like, I come home and like, thank God for Lydia. Like, I'm just like going to share it with her. You know what I'm saying? And what's the point of me leaving it at the door? Because it's just going to build up and fester. Like, she's the only person I care to share these things with. You know what I'm saying? If yeah, you may hear about it, but at the same time, it's better than me bottling it up and like changing as a person and being worse from just holding it all in.
Oh yeah.
And even like, there was a time like it's just financially super tough for me. And like, I was just playing chess, man, every month. And like, Lydia's like, I talked to her about it and I got emotional. I was like, listen, like, it's been hard. Like, I've had to make sacrifices you don't know about. And she's like, but why? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm your husband. Like, I provide. Like, y'all, if the lights are on, the house is still here, like, y'all are okay. Yeah. Like, I got to carry other shit that I don't want to burden you with my stress because it's stressful as hell. Like, why do I want to put that on you? She's like, Joe, we are a team. Yep. Like, I'm here for it. Do you understand? And it took me even like a really long time to process that because I'm like, but as a man, I got to carry more than you. And so like, I feel that to my core, man. It's one of those things like we just got to overcome though.
And it goes back to we're supposed to be the providers. We're supposed to be, take care of the family. Mm-hmm. And, and that's, I grew up with that. I mean, both my parents were providers. Yes, my dad was the bigger one, but I mean, he always saw that role of, my mom worked, my dad worked, both of them worked very hard, to provide for, my sister and I, to provide for the family. And, I always saw that role as like, yes, the man, he provides for his family, takes care of his family, and that's how he takes care of him. Yeah. I didn't see that other aspect, and now I'm learning that of like, hey, you're a team, and not only that, you're a team that discuss, but show the kids that you're a team. And we talk through, I'm learning that, and I continue want to learn that of like sharing that where they see us talk. Because we still have times where, we have hard times. It's struggle. It's right now there's 3 days a week where I'm gone for a long time. I go up to Clarksville and I leave at, 5:30 in the morning and I'm not back till 7:00 at night. Yeah. And they're hard days on me of, in the truck for, 4 hours or so a day, 3.5 hours, whatever it is. And it happened even on Thursday driving back. I mean, it was 2.5 hours in the truck on the way home because traffic. Yeah. And it's hard, it's hard on her. It's hard on us. And we need to be able to share that and save space for each other and take care of each other through that. Cause there's times I don't see it, I mean, I say, hey, but I'm here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, cause I work from home usually on Fridays and Mondays. But that doesn't mean that the other 3 days weren't hard. Yeah. And I'm trying to, understand that and save space and say, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's hard. But I'm here to help and I want to do everything I can to work through it and make that space better.
When you're home, being intentional too.
Yeah.
And those conversations are intentional, but also being intentional with that time you have with them.
It is.
Yeah. And it can be a struggle, but if you're willing to grow together and have those conversations, like it's not going to be that bad.
100%.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. During, time in the military, there was times where being away for months at a time, training or, a week, it's, now that I see that and I want to try to, and I struggle with it now. I mean, when I come home, I'm tired, but I need to be more intentional about sitting down and really giving attention to our relationship and talking, and saying, hey, how was your day? How are things, cause we do, I mean, it's come home 7:00, cook dinner, interact with, kids, help with schoolwork, whatever it is. And then it's, an hour, hour and a half before going to bed. And that time, I need to do better with that. And I'm learning that. And she's helping me sit down and say, be more intentional with it and talk and have some time where we're discussing with each other and being intentional about that. Yeah. And not just watching TV.
It's interesting to hear like all the changes and like obviously Tiffany's influence on your life. moving forward, I think we've covered that ground pretty well. I mean, she's made a huge impact. You're learning how to communicate, all those things. Is there anything else you want to say on that dynamic? Because I got a couple of questions when it comes back to fatherhood.
Okay. I do want to say, I mean, it's a constant work and growing. You know, I mean, I'm saying that sometimes it's a 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You know, I slip back just like anybody else. I'm human. You know, I make mistakes, but I want her to know, and you know, people to know that it's intentional effort, working through that, and continuing to grow, and continuing to, you know, stagnant water is not, I can't remember exactly what the saying was, but like, I think she even said it about flowing. You know, you need to be a river, you're flowing, you're constantly moving, you're constantly working towards to be a better person, and getting the help that you need, and being okay with that. Yeah, for sure. You know, and it's like, hey, it doesn't, you know, in the Army, it was always that sentiment. I think until recently, it was like, hey, if you ask for help, you see if you feel weak, and that shows weakness if you're asking for help. No, it's not. That's showing strength of, hey, I've identified something I need work on, and I need help with that. Yeah. So that I'm a better person for, you know, my spouse. I'm a better person for, you know, my team or whatever it is. And I'm okay with getting that help. Yeah. So that I'm a better person. Yeah. You're going to perform much better if you work on those things. Yes. Yeah. So if we can re-gear that mindset in everything, especially the military, I appreciate you highlighting that as well, man. Hell yeah. I do want to ask too, you know, when you're talking about your kids, you talked about how you're taking those steps to rebuild and reconnect, you know, and it's some real struggles with you. What would you say, as opposed to years ago, what does being a father mean to you today? You know, I mean, I always, you know, being father, I mean, I'm blessed to be a father. You know, I love my kids. You know, today, you know, I think it's not being just a friend to them. It's actually teaching them, this is how to be a better person. This is how to be respectful. And sometimes that's being, you know, in their eyes, the bad person, showing them, hey, here's the right way, and we're not going to do it this way. Yeah. I'm not going to give you this because you've pestered me enough or whatever it is. And holding your own, even if your partners, your spouse, whatever, saying like, no, they need it. No, if you're holding the line and they need to learn from this, you know, then hold that line. Yeah. And don't give in. Cause you're trying to teach them. And I think that's something that, you know, we see now today of like, why is a generation, you know, current generation young people, the way they are right now, like, oh, they'll blame that on the Gen Z because, well, who are the ones that were their parents? Dude, I talk about this all the time. It was like, we, you know, our parents held our feet to the fire and said, I'm going to beat your ass if you do this. And we feared that and said, okay, I need to do the right thing. Well, you don't see that these days, you know, and I'm not saying there were times that I didn't do that, but if I can go back and look at it, it's like, no, I'm going to hold you to it. Yeah. I'm going to be, and here's the reason why. You know, it is, you know, and I see most people don't see it until they have their own kids to say, oh, I see why my dad did that. Yeah. I see why you know, what I did was wrong and that was disrespectful. Yeah. And that's the part of like, hey, I know you don't see it now, but I want you to be able to know this, that, hey, here's the reason why I'm doing that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to hold that line. And I'm going to set that boundary, and you're going to respect that boundary, and we're not going to have this anymore. Yeah. I you know, I look back at it now and showing that and saying, hey, okay, this is what I need to do. And you know, I put that back on, you know, the journey that I've been on with Tiffany in the past 2 years. And she's helped me with that of, hey, it's not beneficial to your son to say, yeah, I'll get that, or give in, hold the line. Yeah. You know, and they might hate you, and you might be the bad person right now, but they will be better off in the future. Trust me, it's hard for me. I'm a sucker, dude. I'm such a sucker with that little girl. I mean, Lydia calls me out, and I'm like, God damn it, I know. I try my best, though. You mentioned Tiffany brought you closer to God, or brought you maybe back to God, right?
So I want you to share, briefly what that journey looks like for you right now.
So, I mean, I'm a believer. I grew up in the church, not going a lot, but we went to church. I had an uncle that's in a family that were, he was a deacon at the church we went to. And I did through high school. We would go, not a lot, not, every single weekend. So I grew up in the faith and had it even through West Point going, but I didn't go a lot. I didn't practice my faith. And connecting with Tiffany and us starting dating, and then moving in and then getting married, she's kind of reconnected me with that. And I really, the experience that we go to, I really enjoy the pastor there. Pastor Corey he talks to you, and he's, I grew up in a Baptist church where the preacher got up there and he's wearing a suit and all proper, and it's, you got to follow that kind of dynamic. You go up there and you talk to him, and she tells me his story, and it's like, hey, he's a normal person. He gets up there in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, barefoot.
Oh, Corey's great. It's funny. We go to the same coffee shop on Mondays, okay. And if I go work from this coffee shop on a Monday, which is most weeks, we always have like a little conversation and check in on each other. So yeah, he's a really cool dude.
Yes, and just the way he, the way he goes through his sermons in the Bible and just teaches you and brings it and says, hey, this is how this was, and this is how it transitioned to today, and it just helps me. I'm not somebody that studied the Bible. Tiffany she grew up in that, and she helps me with that. Yeah. And we've talked about it, and I need to dive deeper into it and actually read. And I, that's something that I want to grow and continue on. But when you sit down there and you go through his sermons, he does that so well. And I think that she's helped me in that process, and something that we talk about of continuing that and bringing our kids into it. So anytime, my son usually visits, we go to church on Sunday if we can, Yeah. Next time he's coming down, we're going to be at the Tennessee Titans game on Sunday. So, but it's, I say the other God's, land of, stadium, but, that journey she's helped me on, so much, and really, recognizing, like, even when we have arguments and we need to come together and, before you're going to bed, sleep, that you're working on forgiving each other. Don't go to bed angry. Mm-hmm. God calls you that. Don't. So she's in that process of us working together, and something that she's teaching me, and it's bringing us closer together. Yeah. With that. And she calls for a spiritual leader, and, the husband's the spiritual leader in the family. And that right now, I might not be, because I'm still growing in my faith. Yeah. I'm still learning. And she has a much more background about it and can talk about the Bible. And at this point, it's, I might need her to help in that process, because I don't have the background.
And that's okay too.
It is, yes. Yeah. I'm not afraid of that, for her to step in and go, hey, let me help you out with that. Let me help you with this. This is what I know. Yeah. And let me help us through this. And here's what will help.
I love that. Oh yeah. So what do you think you're trying to, in this point in your life, this season, what are you trying to gain spiritually?
More of, I think, my reconnection with God. Yeah. And really learning and reading and getting to know more. I have faith in it, and I believe in God, Jesus Christ, sacrificed on the cross for our sins, for us, and really connecting and learning more about that. Yeah. And that's why I said Pastor Corey does so well of learning that, is sitting down and dissecting each section of the Bible and learning about it. Yeah. And for somebody to have their sermons like that, for me, that is just powerful. I can sit and I really, it really speaks to me, and you learn from it than somebody just getting up there and talking. Yeah,
that's the most important aspect, right? That pours into everything of your life. And, I think that's an eternal growth. Like, you're always going to be growing in that aspect. I don't think there's ever a place you should get comfortable with it, constantly try to grow and build that connection with God. And so like, and that's what I hear from you is like in this season, you're just being intentional about that growth there. And that's going to bleed into every other aspect of your life too. And I love that. And again, on Corey, yeah, like I said, I've been to a couple things with her, you know, if it's a holiday thing or whatever. And, you know, I listen and I'm there and I'm like, oh yes, he delivers this message very well. So I do appreciate it. Yeah. And just like knowing him as a guy, I'm trying to get him on the podcast. Cause I think, you know, I talked to him, we're going to make it happen. He's a busy man. I get it. So, but anyways, thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for sharing your journey today. I've had a blast.
I have too. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Dude, I want to keep going and just dive into a bunch of other random shit. And we're going to have to do that in time.
Yes.
But, you know, this is good. This is a good one. Number one has been killer. And I'm extremely grateful for you coming on here and being vulnerable and just, well, one, sharing your whole journey, but like opening up and being vulnerable and talking about the healing aspect and all those other important aspects, man. I mean, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
There's no other way to put it. I'm proud of you, man. Like that's killer. So I do have one before I ask this. Do you have anything else you want to share?
I just want to appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to come on here. You know, sometimes you people come in hesitant, you know, because I see his last podcast, Tiffany. I mean, hers is very powerful.
Yeah.
Her journey and the things that she's gone through, you know, and you know, we've talked about it and said, hey, for you coming on here, if you help one person by them listening to your journey, that they will go out there and seek help and it helps them, then you've reached it. I mean, you've accomplished what you wanted to do with it. Yes, it's hard coming on here. And I was like, well, really, do I have anything that can help with that like you? I mean, you've gone through a lot more, but is there anything that really I'm coming on here and that could really help somebody? And we talked about it. And that was the whole deal that we kind of went through today. And I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity and hope that, you know, somebody sees it and says, hey, you know what? I'm going through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay. You know, there's somebody I can go get help to help me through that path and to be a better person to help through that transition.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, you nailed it. I mean, that's perfect. And you do have a very impactful story, just to make things clear from my perspective. So thank you for having the courage to come share it, man. And I do got to ask you though, before we cut out, what is your relentless pursuit? And you probably already knew I was coming with this one.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. I think my relentless pursuit is to continue to grow, never stop.
Yeah.
You know, your faith, continue to grow your relationship, continue to grow professionally, personally, always seek that, you know, growth. If we're not moving forward, then we're staying stagnant and it doesn't help. Always seek that, find out help, whatever it is, you know, work for your spouse, work with your spouse to help you through whatever it is, but continue to grow, continue to seek that growth.
Hell yeah, man. Beautiful answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew, it's been a killer time. Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, until next time, guys.